Hey everybody, this is Noe with Walk with Yah. Having a night where I'm almost going to take the night off, maybe. I'm going to let you be the host. And so, if you did not know, Walk with Yah is a ministry that deals a lot in deliverance, how to get spiritual oppression off of people, because if you didn't know, we are fighting demons and other celestial beings and spiritual entities and that type of stuff. And so, Walk with You also teaches on spiritual warfare, on how that works, because it's a lot different than what people think it is, and also teaches on how to live the Bible, so that way you don't need deliverance. So how to apply the Bible to your lives, how to have joy. Actually, Walk with Yah is actually kind of getting a little bit more into worship and music. Hopefully you'll see some more of that. I believe that God is teaching me some things about that. Or in that, rather. And so kind of excited what's going on there. But yes, welcome to the Walk with Yah live stream. So I just got back from a gathering of tribal nations, this 2023 prophetic conference that was held in a little north of Birmingham, Alabama at Robin D. Bullock's church. I had known of Robin Bullock. Can't say I know that much about him, but I was actually investing into a prophetic word that was given to me a few months ago, and perhaps for some direction for my life. I wasn't sure. I was just like, hey, Father, I'm going to go and just see what you're doing here. And around that time, he challenged me with some things, and I was kind of really looking for answers. And anyways, I believe I got he indirectly answered me during that time, and I was just trying to, shalom, Madeline, good to see you here, as always. And so, sometimes we have to invest into those prophetic words. Just to let you know, they just don't automatically happen. Sometimes he's trying to woo you, the Father's trying to woo you into a direction or place, or even give you a warning. Don't do this, or this may happen. And so, anyways, just had that happen just last weekend, which is why I'm kind of doing the open mic night tonight, just because I didn't really have so much time to prepare. So, if you recall, if you saw the last video I did, Walk with Yah did, that was on the spiritual temple, the spiritual temple of transformation, where it was basically talking about how the temple in the wilderness, how it represents our walk, where we are with the Father and our discipleship in our walk, as well as it representing different aspects of our human spirit and some of those principles that are established there. Because those principles can be used either to help advance us, or they can be used against us. And so I'm not going to get into all that. But I was kind of doing that teaching for a basis to maybe do some other teachings as kind of a jump off point, a diving board, if you will. One of the things that I was thinking about doing was possibly doing a teaching on how the demons access different parts of our body. Because our body represents spiritual realities, because most everything in the world does, whether it's the sun, the sky, whether it's the clouds, it's everything in this earthly realm kind of can have a spiritual type of symbolism. You don't want to take that too far. But anyways, with some of my clients, sometimes the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, may show me. Saw one recently, a door in a person's heart, and I could see the silhouette of a person standing there. It turned out to be a programmer that had programmed this person to behave a particular way. Had another one where saw a flap in the brain, kind of saw a flap open, saw a type of laboratory, computer lab, two people standing in there, in a open-eyed vision. And turns out there were some programmers there also as well, trying to program that person, trying to adjust the way that he believed and thought and therefore behaved. And so, again, one of the things I was trying to do with that teaching was to show how the earthly and the spirit realms are really tightly woven together. And this may seem really weird, but again, a lot of times I'm trying to tell people you need to read the Bible a little bit differently, that there's a lot more to us than just what we experience in this earthly realm. That's really just the tip of the iceberg, because there's so much more going on that most of us are aware of. And when we get stuck in our human traditions and what we were taught in Sunday school, and we kind of leave it there, you're missing the bigger part of the picture. Anyways, but this is Noe with Walk with Yah. Feel free to hit me up with any questions, comments while I'm speaking. I'll try to get to those, answer them the best I can, as always. But I'd like to hear from you. It just helps. And so I like to help people within their understanding. And if you don't chat something like Madeline did, I won't know that you're here. So maybe you get credit with Yah, with God, if you're here watching, but I might not be able to do the same. I'm just kind of telling you just how it works. Anyways, but hoping that you share this ministry with a lot of people, because again, a lot of people need to know what it is that they're fighting against. Now, as I was saying just a few moments ago, one of the things that I was talking about in the series of teachings we just finished with, the Spiritual Temple of Transformation, there was a little bit of focus, not too much, given on these principles. We were saying, hey, like with the prophet, it's the principle of design. There's also other principles of fulfillment, sowing and reaping, that type of stuff. And so, but let's say I had a client the other day that, of no fault of their own, they were seeking blessings, a lifestyle that they believed was what God wanted for them. And I kind of pushed back a little bit, and I was like, well, that could be the case. You were blessed in very many ways, but I know that was a very comfortable, good life. It had its challenges. But what if that's not His purpose for you? What if He designed you to do something else, but yet you don't want to do that? You want to go back to the way it was. So in other words, you would be breaking the principle of design, or in other words, allowing the enemy to get you off track. In which case, when you do that, it actually allows demons to attack you, because now you're kind of going against God's will for your life. So in all those principles, there's a lot more that can be said there, of things that are not directly stated in the Bible, but they're hinted at and illustrated. And sometimes when we shirk our responsibilities in whatever principle that is, we open ourselves up to attack. And so now, most of the world, including myself at times, I try not to really, but I still do at times, operate from the flesh. But most of the world is unknowingly and sometimes willfully allowing the devil to use them. And so, it states in Galatians 5, starting with verse 19, the committing sexual sins, being morally bad, shameful things, worshiping idols, witchcraft, hatred, causing trouble, strife, jealousy, anger, selfishness, creating division, arguing, envy, being drunkenness, having wild parties, all this stuff. And to them, well, everyone else is doing it. That's the world's doing it, so it must be okay. Unfortunately, or probably fortunately, God doesn't work with the majority of what the world says. And so He is the majority. Even if it's just you and Him alone against the rest of the world, you're still in the majority. So I want to be quiet for a minute. I'm just going to ask, is there anyone here that has any questions for me? Because I did kind of market this as that. So I would like to give you a chance to ask anything you want. I wasn't sure what was going to happen today, but in my prayer time, I kind of felt like, there's a few things that he might want me to talk about. So I wrote a few things down just in case. But again, I'm still opening up the floor to any questions. And I want to give that a second. And also I'm going to check in with him to see if there's anything that he does want me to say. So give me just a moment. I actually do feel like I hear him telling me that he wants to know that you are loved. That there are many challenges that are going on in the world right now, and that they will increase. That doesn't mean he doesn't love you. It just means you need to draw closer to him. Sometimes we have to look at the big picture of what he's trying to do because we don't understand his ways. Sometimes there's a reason that a lot of the evil has been allowed in, which causes us to suffer. I feel like I hear him saying that he has prepared a way out. I don't know exactly how he means that. And not to have fear, to not be worried. That he will never leave you or forsake you. And he is always with you to the end of the age. That we have to be sensitive to him, to his ways. Again, relationship, have to know him. And there's going to be many things that are coming that a lot of people, probably myself also as well, are not expecting or may catch you off guard. But that, again, he is our stability. And he doesn't operate by the ways that the world operates in. I feel like I hear him saying that there will be more demonic attacks coming. Again, a lot of times people don't know what it is, that they're fighting demons because they're actually manifesting through people. So it doesn't look like demons, but plus a whole bunch of other ways. Could be, who knows. I'm not saying this is him, this is me, but they're probably pushing some type of alien agenda here soon. There could be some false gods, false messiahs, those that purportedly have the answer through science, this, that, and the other. Suggest you not fall for it. Father, what else? I feel like I'm almost seeing like a honeycomb, or actually a bee's nest, rather. And so, in other words, I believe what he's talking about is community, and that we have to work together as worker bees to create that honey, if you will, that anointing, that honey, as you probably know, has a lot of healing attributes, health attributes to it. Anyways, well, actually, let me not cut him off. And so, because I'm also seeing a key that he has many keys of, he has many keys. Some of them are understanding, others are in authority, and he wants to give them out, but we have to seek them. Sometimes he may give them without us even seeking them, but because he can do what he wants, but most of the time we do have to seek them. I feel like you say more people are going to start experiencing dreams and visions. More healings. But to be careful, because the enemy is very, very cunning and deceitful. Obviously, we know that even the enemy can do miracles. So miracles in themselves is not proof of God, of Yah. If you didn't know that, telling you that now. Okay, I think that's it. So thank you for allowing me that. Okay, so no questions. I'm going to move on. Now, because I've been doing deliverance ministry 10, 12 years, thereabouts, I have found that many of us really don't know who we are. I mean, yes, I'm talking about, yes, our identity and authority in Yeshua from a positive sense, because the enemy is always trying to thwart that. I tell people often, many times, that the demons have more reason to be scared of us than we are of them. And because really, if we find out who we are, our identity and authority in Yeshua, Jesus, well, then they should be more scared of us. Now, granted, we still have to do the work. We still have to do the cleanup of getting all that darkness that has crept in through our bloodline, through us. But once we start getting cleaned up and start realizing who we really are, when we start realizing being led by the Spirit, because our human spirit has a lot more potential than our human soul does, well, then the enemy should be very much more scared than we are of them. They're just trying to get the first strike in. They know if we figure that out, they're in trouble. But, again, many of us don't know who we are. Now, because there's a lot of heart parts of us that got broken off when we were little, that are still there. They're still there in the spirit realm. They're still holding on to anger or fear or bitterness or whatever it is. And they still come up and affect us at times. Our thinkings, our dreams, the way we act. And that can go for generational fragments, soul ties, as what I call soul invaders also as well. And there's also other spiritual entities that manifest through us. And so, because again, we're temples, houses, tents. In a sense, we're kind of like flesh puppets. We're just, with some entity just comes through us and just starts using our body and whatever. That's, if you can read the Bible that way, that's kind of what it says. Actually, and if you think about this, there's a certain president of a first world country that's a major power that gets up to the microphone and says some crazy things. Like, I've been in World War I, or I've been this or that. And that person may not actually be lying. Which sounds crazy, I know, but hear me out. Because he could have other soul fragments within him that are manifesting. And so it's not reincarnation. It's more complex than that. Again, Hebrews 9:27 speaks against reincarnation. You only get one body. That's yours. Now, but I believe that we think relationships are complicated, and they are. But as this stuff starts coming out, it's going to get more complicated, and it has been getting more complicated. Because when we have different entities in us that come up, and it looks like the same body, but it's a different person, or it's a different part of that person, or whatever. Well, then it gets confusing of who we think we're actually talking to. There's a verse in the Bible, and I forgot where it's at. I think it's Acts somewhere, where the people there were saying, hey, we knew Yeshua Jesus this way, but now that we've seen him, we no longer see him this way in the flesh. And we almost have to be like that. We can't look with our fleshly eyes thinking that the person that's in front of us is the one that we're talking to. And I'm probably going to do a teaching next time on survivors and programming. And I'm going to get a little bit more into that. But this stuff, I'm running into this stuff more often. And that there's a lot more evil than people want to admit to. Cults and programming and DID and stuff like that. People want to think that they are removed from that. It's not around them. It doesn't happen in their church. It doesn't happen. It's all over the place. And a lot of people they kind of want to ignore it. And again, I'm running into this. There's clients that I've had that I've worked with for a while, and we've made a little bit of progress, but it just really wasn't the progress I was hoping to make until we found out that there was something much deeper going on. Now, if you remember John 17, verse 21, the Bible says, this is Yeshua, Jesus speaking, Father, I pray that all you who believe in me can be one. You are in me, and I am in you. I pray that they can also be one in us. Then the world will believe that you sent me. I have given them the glory that you gave me. I gave them glory so that they can be one, just as you and I are one. I will be in them, and you will be in me. So they will be completely one. Then the world will know that you sent me and that you love them just as you loved me. Now, there's a lot going on there. I don't take that to mean that we're going to be one, as in we're God. It's not how I take that. Take that to mean is we're going to be one, is we're going to be whole. We will be united in attitude and belief in everything. His will become our will at some point in time. We will be different from him, but yet he shares his life essence with us. So in a sense, we are part of him. But this verse is saying, and it says other places that Christ is in us, we are in him. If you think about that, and you look at it from a spiritual lens, what is that saying? Dan Duvall says, he talks about this as being realms, which makes sense. That we are actually realms more than we are body. So our human spirit is also kind of like a realm. When I think of realm, I kind of think of like a cloud, sort of. Best way I can think about right now. And so when one cloud intersects with another, they're both separate, but still kind of one. And so we are realms. In Revelation, it talks about death and hell, talks about them as if they're people. And then later on, it says that death and hell gave up those that were in them. In other words, they are realms. They are also people. So, just if that helps you understand that we are realms, and we can get other types of soul fragments, entities within us, within our realm. And so I also found it very interesting in John 17:22, he says, I have given them the glory, and I gave them this glory. And so he actually shares his glory with us. So kind of cool. Now, I'm going to change subject slightly here. There's, in the past week, there's been a Dan Duvall Bride Movement podcast, and I haven't seen it in a while. Got other stuff that I'm focusing on, but this one was by one of my clients, told me about this, and started listening to it, and it was very interesting, to say the least, about basically how those that are trying to take over the world, that type of stuff, how they are using CRISPR, the gene editing tool, to create designer babies. Because if you didn't know, they are trying to weed us out. That all this stuff about transhumanism, taking the jabs, all that type of stuff, there's a much bigger picture here. And so the life is in the blood, and they're trying to overtake the blood. And God gives us free will to choose him. And the enemy is trying to get us forcefully to remove our choices from us as much as possible, so that we don't think we have any free will, but we choose to serve him. Because ultimately, and I've said this in my other teachings as well, that they are using us, kind of like the Matrix says, as batteries, as power. Because they can't go to the Father for his power, for his life essence. So they've hijacked the system and basically steal it from us. So anytime that we do, what it says in Galatians 5:19, all that evil stuff, through 21, the sexual sins, the worshiping false gods, witchcraft, hating, selfishness, anger, that feeds the enemy. That makes it worse for us. And there's a lot of people giving into that stuff. And they don't quite understand what's going on. And so I hope that was a red pill moment for some of y'all. And so, but I'm sure a lot of people know this. I was up in Boston a number of years ago, with another minister, and we talked to some guy there that he was from Haiti. And he brought up the concept of zombies. And so he would say, and I've done a little bit of research on that, and that, people believe zombies are real. I don't necessarily doubt it. And that's basically, if we all have an appointed time, we have an appointed time to die as well. And if the enemy can take us out before our appointed time to die, they might be able to take our soul and put it into another body. I've heard of these Haitian zombies, at least back then, that they would use them to farm the fields. You could look at them and tell there just wasn't something right about them. I don't know if it was, they were mentally handicapped, they didn't move. I think he said some of them just didn't move correctly. But all the witch doctors and all that type of stuff, like, they would take the souls of the bodies and put them in another body. And in this session, this podcast on this Dan Duvall moment, this lady was talking about this, how they've kind of perfected this. And because if you didn't know it, it's pretty well known that they don't hide this, really. If you look at 2045.com, it talks about the science of the future, how they believe that they can take their brain and upload it to the internet and then download it to another body, that'll basically be a clone of you, and essentially live forever that way through science. And they're also doing a lot of other things. Kind of makes you wonder what drives this science. Again, I don't trust a lot of these chemical companies that are giving us all the medicines. Anyways, I think they just created their first, not full, but a human embryo. I think I just read that just the other day. Through stem cells. It wasn't complete, still a lot more work to do that, but again, if they can create these designer babies through CRISPR, they will probably do that. They will probably try to, they don't question the science of whether they should. They just want to know if they can. They've been having that conversation since the clone Dolly came out. And so the sheep, if you remember that, probably over a decade ago. Anyways, so there's a lot of stuff going on that a lot of people aren't aware of things that they can do these days. That is how the enemy wants to take over the world, is through science. If he can get us all connected to the internet through our brain, and that's what Elon Musk is working on with Neuralink. So there's all kinds of crazy experiments going on, and so it's not good. This is how the enemy's trying to control everyone. So, anyways, some of the other things that they do is, create these MK Ultra type soldiers, which there could be, who knows, 10 million, 20 million out there, as it's been estimated, where even the core person is not aware that they are programmed. And these could be pastors, these could be people at the hospital and the daycare and the nurseries and the schools, wherever. And so, because again, I'm finding that there's a lot more people out there, or at least I'm finding, that are dealing with some of this stuff. Whether it's through sexual cults, Freemasonry, whatever. Because the veil between the first and second heavens is thinning. Even as it says in Acts 2:17, and it shall be in the last days, says Elohim, that I shall pour out my spirit on all flesh. And he's quoting Joel 2:28 here. And your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. And also on my male servants and my female servants I shall pour out my spirit in those days, and they shall prophesy, and I shall show wonders in the heaven above and signs in the earth beneath. So in other words, if you read that, in the last days, all flesh, meaning not just people that believe in Yeshua. He said all flesh. And then he goes, and also on my male and female servants. So again, the veil is thinning between the first and second heavens. So we're going to be seeing a lot more crazy stuff. If you're not familiar with the Bible, it may cause fear or trepidation within people. But he also says, don't worry. I want to show wonders in the heaven, signs in the earth. But he does these miracles through people that believe and allow him to, where their faith allows them for him to do these signs and wonders through them. Because a lot of times he may do signs and wonders and miracles without human intervention. But most times it's going to require the faith of a person, of people praying, of people stepping out and, praying for that leg to grow out, that eye to be recreated. Going back to the to the MK Ultra types. I had a client recently that we had a fragment of him come up, a 14-year-old, who kind of knew some of the history and kind of shared. He was like, this person was born in a petri dish. It's not the first time I've heard that. And a lot of times the evil people will try to traumatize those people to kind of break them down so they can recreate them however they want to. That's how that works. I think that's the reason why a lot of children are getting lost that are coming through the borders. For rituals, for programming, for torture, that type of stuff. And so even though they may try to sell it like it's a good thing, I don't necessarily trust. But again, you can choose to believe me or not. All right. I want to go on to another subject. Well, let me just say lastly there, if you're on meds, I really suggest you really try to get off of them. Get healthier. Try to get off the processed food. Try to get off that stuff as much as possible. I wish I could do more than I am now. But I'm trying to take better care of myself to not need that, if at all possible. So, anyways. But these days, many churchgoers are very content in doing the bare minimum and would rather focus on their earthly blessings, ignoring the fact that all those blessings may soon be taken away as this country is getting hijacked in every way. As God is being pushed out and Satan is being ushered and allowed and almost welcomed in. Like we really haven't learned from biblical history. As Madeline says, Satan's last hurrah mimicry of the blood of Jesus tainting all biological life forms, including humans, animals, and plants. Yeah, they're messing with the DNA on everything. Obviously, GMO type stuff like that, where they're putting insecticides in the tomatoes and stuff like that. Where they're trying to put the vaccines in the food, in mosquitoes, etc., etc. These people are not stupid. They may be crazy, and some of them actually think they're doing something good, believe it or not. Anyways, for the most part, we are spiritually dull of hearing and understanding, as many people are on the milk of the word. And I don't say that pridefully, because I don't know everything for sure, but I'm open to whatever else Yeshua may want to show me to go deeper in understanding and application. Witches and warlocks haven't had the self-imposed boundaries that believers have or have had for a long time. So they're way ahead of us overall in terms of spiritual warfare. Now we can catch up if disciples wake up, but that probably won't happen until complacent believers have no other choice. I pray it doesn't come to that, but more than likely it will, because a lot of people are really only concerned about their self-interest and comfort, whereas God, is more concerned about the community as a whole. And you can start reading about that in Acts 2 verses 42 about what happens when people start living and doing community the way that he wants. Because he's really more concerned about your character than he is your comfort. And so sometimes, because we've allowed these things, unfortunately, they have to happen. And also because we're under the authority of sometimes people that we do not agree with. Now, Yeshua said around a handful of times that we are not of this world. But so many people see everything from the worldly, traditional human perspective. And you might ask, well, Noe, Do you have proof that, say, who knows, aliens exist? Actually, yes, I do. And I would suggest that you go look in the mirror because there's your proof. As it says in 1 Peter 2, verse 11. Dear friends, you are like visitors and strangers in this world. So I beg you to keep your lives free from the evil things you want to do, those desires that fight against your true selves. That was the ERV version. And so, and I'm almost bringing this to an end here. So, Yeshua told me that one day I would be very thankful for this time that I have now. Because he called me to full-time ministry a little over 8 years ago, where I'm developing my relationship with him as well as my spiritual gifts that I try to work out and grow often per Hebrews 5:13, verse 14. And I encourage you to do the same because we overcome the demons with the supernatural gifts that God gives us. You can find that also in, I think it's 1 Corinthians 10, verse 13 or 14, or is that 2 Corinthians 10, 13, 14? Anyways, thereabouts. Because we all have different gifts, and so we all need each other. And if you're not used to that, I know I'm not used to it myself, it's going to be a lot different. And we're going to have to learn how to overcome those quirks that some other people have because we need the gifts that are within them. But basically, we're in a cosmic spiritual war that most people do not see. And fortunately or unfortunately, I get to see that every week. I get to deal with the forces that are manipulating people. And so I'm just trying to share with y'all, those that are willing to listen, this is kind of what's going on. All right, so before I finish, I'm going to check in once more, see if the Ruach HaKodesh, see if Yeshua has anything that he wants me to say. I feel like I hear him saying, "Do not fear, my flock, my sheep. For I know what you have need of even before you ask." You have to trust in me. I can do many miracles, signs, and wonders. Free your faith. I am bigger than your problems. Remember Exodus. Remember what the Bible says who I am. I am that I am. Seek me while I may be found. The more that you work with me, the easier it is for me to straighten out your life. Okay. I believe that was Yeshua speaking, if I was hearing him correctly. And so, because some of my teachings I do are so heady and stuff like that. I write them out, of course, obviously. Can't remember all that stuff. And so, in the future, I want to try to give him more of a chance to speak through me. Yes, there'll be times where I need to work for my teachings again, but I also want to give more opportunities for him to show up, for him to work through me. Even as Paul says, hey, you know, I don't come talking in words, but I come in power. And so, anyways, I want to thank you for watching this, whether you're watching it now or later. We actually won't have the next live stream until September the 7th. So just the way that the dates fall, there will actually be a 2-week break. And so I'm just going to ask again that you share this ministry with others, that it'll hopefully encourage them. It'll hopefully help them to see the Bible, how it's applied in different ways than, you know, some people think it's just, again, traditional. That's, I don't know if they think we've come to the end of our understanding or what, but the Bible's more relevant than reading the newspaper. As I heard one person say, is, you know, you have the Bible in one hand and the newspaper in the other, and that's kind of how you read the newspaper. And so, which is a very true statement. And so, I just encourage you to work on yourselves also as well, to develop that relationship, to see if there's something in your past that the enemy can use against you, you know, your bloodline, whatever. Because a lot of people don't know that they're just living in the present, but they don't know that there might be other soul fragments there or whatever, no matter who you are. You know, I've had to deal with a lot of them myself, and I haven't gone through any extreme trauma. I've had a pretty normal life. But there's still stuff that I've had to work with to get myself cleaned up. And so I don't want anyone thinking that they are immune, because that's why we need a Savior. That's why he needs to mend our broken hearts, because they are broken. And I don't want to put fear into you. I'm not trying to get you hooked on, you know, deliverance. I'm just trying to tell you there's always something that needs to be worked on that he's trying to teach us. Anyways, this is Noe with Walk with Yah Ministry. Again, share this ministry with people so they can hopefully get an understanding of what it is that they're fighting. We will see you again soon. I look forward to it. If you have any questions, comments, feel free to reach out. Shalom. And maybe your miracle could be next.